Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today I wanted to talk about finding your art style. Now, this video might be a little bit shorter than some of my others, and that's because I have a really huge video for next week. I am going to be doing a beginning watercolor tutorial, and it's going to be kind of huge. So, let's just get started into this one. Now, I want to talk about why. Why would you want to find your own art style? And as I do this, I'm going to kind of be interrupting myself and talking about some of my art. So what happened was, for a huge chunk of my career, I wasn't really dedicated to it. I was very interruptive with it. It was more of a casual sort of doodle type deal, and I just wouldn't buckle down. I wouldn't get serious. And as a result, I sort of drew on the backs of things. And by things, I mean everything. Grocery lists, bills, all that stuff. Everything I created was loose leaf for like a decade. So all that art eventually was thrown away. I don't have anything to show for it, which is why most of the bulk of the things I do now are all bound into sketchbooks that are tangible, that are together, that have heft, that I can keep track of. So, why would you want to find your art style? This is a sketchbook from 2017. These were 5-minute watercolors. I'm going to be talking about, the example I'm going to be using for myself is birds. So, and we will get into why I chose that, and it should be pretty obvious anyway. But, so, why you want to create an art style? Again, we're going to look at my bird watercolors. This is a peacock. Just a 5-minute watercolor. Creating an art style is a really easy way to have a cohesive body of work. And you're going to want a cohesive body of work if you're a student and you're looking to apply to an art school. You want to put together a portfolio. If you are applying to a job or a commission, you want to sort of tailor that and have that be a cohesive body of work to really show who you're giving this to, or, you know, lending this to, what you're capable of creating. Now, I will create a separate video on how to do portfolios and how to tailor that, because that's its own sort of, it's a lot. Again, 5-minute watercolor. These are fun. This is from 2017. I think this is a Canon. Anyway, it can just be really, really helpful for putting things together. Now, having a huge body of work that's cohesive also helps with your technical skill. These are ink illustrations I did of, obviously, birds. This was for a coloring book. So that's why these look like this. It wasn't meant for me to color in, it was meant for somebody else to color in. And these are birds from Africa. Shoebill, a parrot. This is an owl. I think the bird I have done the most of actually is owls. And this is acrylic just on paper. And yeah, there's something on the back. There's something on the back of all these. And again, I did a lot of loose leaf stuff for a long time. So this is just with a palette knife and acrylic paint. Just a little, you know, quick under 10-minute study of a bird. But you can grow as an artist. You sort of provide, what this does is it provides a window into your creative process. So if you want the viewer to understand your subject matter, your vision, your feelings when you're creating your art, having a cohesive artistic style can really assist with that. Now, this is a lot of mythical birds. So this is a griffin. This is watercolor pencil. Again, we will get into ways of finding your art style, but for right now, I'm just showing you some of my older things. This is from, gosh, the birds that were coloring books was from 2018. This, I think, is from early 2021. This is a phoenix. This is my interpretation of what a phoenix looks like. Again, it's artistic licensing at this point. But Your style can explore possibilities and help you define the characteristics you want to infuse into your style. So having a style can be very, very helpful in leveling up your art. Now, you don't have to have a style. This is a hippogriff. This is my interpretation of one. Again, watercolor pencil. You don't have to have an art style. If you work long enough and create enough and keep practicing, you will eventually develop an art style anyway. So it doesn't have to be a huge stress thing where you are under the gun and under pressure, unless you have a certain deadline or something you're working towards. In which case, let me help you, give you ideas to help you find your art style. This is a culmination of 5 years worth of scrap doodles that I put into a Midori A5. So we're going to look just at the birds. And this is ink with watercolor, and I couldn't tell you the paper if you paid me. Maybe it's a Fabriano Studio. So, how to find your art style. It can be the subject matter. So, if I am saying, yeah, I only do bird art, then that becomes part of my style. Now, if you do a wide variety of subject matters, I try and do a large variety of animals and portraits and people and things. It can also be the medium. So if you only do watercolors or you only do charcoal, that can help define your style. It can be the surface on which you create. So I think some of these are old. Some of these are from 2017. Some of these are from 21 maybe. So if you do murals or you only work on canvas or wood blocks, that can also be a part of your style. It helps define it. So if somebody says, oh, hey, I recognize their art. They watercolor on paper of mushrooms all the time. It's a very definable style. Now, if you change subject matter and you change medium and you change up your surface, it can be a little bit more difficult to find that style. Let's see, there's another bird. So whether you work traditional or you work digital, that also plays a part of your style, because digital art is a different recognizable thing than, say, tangible physical art. So what do you do when all your subject matter is all over the map and you're like me and you love charcoal and you love drawing with ink and you love watercolors? What do you then do? You have to practice and practice and practice and practice. You have to practice a lot. I want to show you this one because I was doing landscapes and I was trying to I will do anything to figure out a way to incorporate birds into my art. And these are little tiny silhouettes. I have silhouettes in almost every single sketchbook, but this one I really went above and beyond with the bird silhouettes to sort of make it cohesive. And again, this is watercolor. There's a couple birds in here. This is from 21. This is World Watercolor Month. And this subject matter here is more birds, and you can see me trying to figure out how to watercolor hands with birds. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going because it gets wild how I figure out ways to incorporate birds. Now I would say after practice, this is an owl that's also a mermaid. This is from Mermaid of 21. This is colored pencil. This is Electrum A4, and these are Polychromos colored pencils. So what else can you do other than keep practicing, keep going? The other options, you can ask artists, followers, family, people who regularly, a teacher, a mentor, somebody who sees your art that has kind of an eye for it, to define. If you said, hey, could you define my art style in 3 words? And if they say bright, bold, big, that is part of your style. If they say monochromatic, miniature and surreal, that's your art style. So if you look at how you convey your subject matter. Is it realism? Is it surrealism? Is it abstract? Is it pointillism? There can be, this is a hawk mermaid. I really got weird with it that year with animals, turning them into mermaids, because animals is part of my style. I really love to incorporate animals into my illustrations. I want to interject really quickly somebody else's art. So this is a comic strip illustrator by the gentleman named Bill Watterson. And this comic is called Calvin and Hobbes. If you're not from the United States, I don't know how worldwide this is. This is a comic strip series about a little boy named Calvin who has a stuffed toy tiger named Hobbes. And in his mind's eye, in his imagination, his stuffed toy is real. So from our view, from the parents' view, and the teachers and the students, they see a stuffed toy. When it's from his view, his mind's eye, his imagination, the toy is real. Early on in Bill's career, when he was drawing the comic strip over and over and over, Hobbes the tiger had pads on his front paws, his top paws, like his hands, basically. His hands and his feet. And as the evolution of this comic strip took place, he eventually, and I want to show you this. Let's see. I found a really good example on this one. Okay. He drops the pads that are on the hands. Now, whether he deemed that something unnecessary or made it too cluttered or too busy or too distracting or didn't increase or assist the story in any way, he eventually took that out. I imagine that was a huge time saver for him, not having to do the pads, because he's done this. He did this comic hundreds and hundreds of times. We have the anthology. It's 4 huge books. This is book 1. It's massive. I wanted to show you that if you draw your artwork, the same exact thing, over and over and over in different ways, you will learn what becomes important to you, what you should keep, what you should drop, what adds to your vision, to your voice, to your artistic representation of what you've created, and what doesn't, what you can remove and what you can take away. So if you draw the same thing over and over and over, you will find what's important to you and what isn't, and what you can stylize and what you can keep and take away. This is just the natural evolution of this illustrator and his comic. Comics are very special in that they are drawn so many times that there becomes a natural stylization as they keep going within the original style. So time you have to create, and over years and years spans of creating can change a style. So another tip would be, if you are interested in comics or anything of the nature where you have to draw the same thing over and over, maybe you're getting into animation or something like that, repetition can help with creating style. All right, I just wanted to show you this quick little thing because it's just fascinating and I just love his comics. All right, so let's keep looking at all my weirdness. Now, the other thing you can do, and you have to be careful with this, this goes into Smogist, where my version of Animaugust, where animals are kind of dragons-ish. This is ink with colored pencil. If you want to see the full sketchbook tours, I will link those. But when you want to sort of hone down your style or figure out what that is, finding artists you do enjoy of their art can be a way to do that. This is a blue-footed booby from the Galapagos Islands that is now a dragon. To do that, however, you don't really steal and you don't really copy. Because that kind of becomes derivative and you don't really want to do that. What you want to do is you want to clearly define, because this is a trick and a half, what art you enjoy looking at versus the art you enjoy making. Because I'm going to tell you something and you're going to be like, what? Ow, always an owl. I don't look at bird art. When I go to a museum, I don't gravitate toward bird art. I don't frankly enjoy bird art. What I do enjoy is making bird art. I love drawing birds. I love painting them. I love drawing them. You'll see, this will keep going. It gets wild. I love collaging them. I love creating them. I love giving them funny facial expressions. I love doing the eyes and the beaks. I love how unique they all are. I love that they're all around the world. It's kind of inclusive. I love that there's such bright colors and there's such variety and sizes, and just there's so many weird things about birds that if I had to pick one subject matter to draw for the rest of my life and nothing else, it would probably be birds. But when I go to a museum, that's not where I go. I look at landscapes. Landscapes are art that I enjoy looking at, that I enjoy hanging on my walls. I have zero bird art on my walls. I just really love drawing birds, okay? So, subject matter, light, how you put the light in, your shadowing, your shading, your form, your eyes, everything can be stylized if you want it to be. This is Drawloween, so everything was kind of spooky scary. Think of the colors you use. If you pick, like this was all done in indigo watercolor, and this bird is poisonous, its skin and stuff. If you pick a certain color theme or always have a little bit of pink in every little drawing you do, that then becomes part of your style. So color can play into it. Again, owl, always. Here's a watercolor owl, and I think there's some Jelly Roll white ink and some white gouache to help with that. Get ready for this one. This one's a lot. Oh, here's some older stuff. I found some older stuff. These are from 2018. I did a round a day. So here's a flamingo. Here's a hummingbird with silver. Anytime I get an opportunity. I did a challenge in 2018 that was 1-inch birds with a micron. And every single day I just drew one. I did a lot of challenges that September of 2018, but this was one of them that I later reformatted and turned into a poster print of birds. They're very, you can see, here's my hand. They're small. There's my cat. She says hi. Oh, here's another round that I found. Again, if they're loose leaf, it's bad. So I try and slip things into plastic sleeves and put them in binders. It can be difficult. Again, loose leaf art. Here's a duck. I don't know what he's doing particularly, but I was testing some new paints, and this is how I chose to swatch them. These are Core watercolors. That's probably Fabriano Studio. Okay, this is from December of 21, and I'm gonna go through this quickly because it's just all birds. I did December. I'm like, well, I like doing birds. I can spend an entire month doing it. Let's do it this way. So other ways you can find your style. You have to be really patient. This isn't something that's sort of instantaneous. Again, this is all watercolor. The Schmincke Hydrum Aquarelle. It takes time. So when you go to create, have the headspace you want to put into your art, those thoughts, those feelings. When you look at the art that you want to create, you can pick any style you want. This is something that you have control over to a certain extent. If you say, I want my style to be nothing but trees and bark and leaves and branches, then that becomes your style. Where it's yours and yours alone is how you do it. It's filtered through you, through your thoughts, through your experiences, through the medium you choose, the surface you choose. Maybe you do trees on sheets of metal because you're making, some sort of statement about the environment or something. And That's then your style. Where it's not a hard, fast thing. As you grow, as you practice, as you keep creating, your style will naturally evolve. And that could have to do with time constraints, with varying interests, like maybe you only want to do trees from a certain region, so you niche down the art that you create. That then hones and evolves your style. So stylizing. When you stylize something, you kind of want to start with realism, with realistic. You want to know know the rules in order to break them. That sort of thing, which sounds kind of cliche, but it doesn't make it not true. So if you're learning faces and you want to get really good at portraits or original characters or something of that nature, you need to know how to draw those accurately to then learn how and why and where you want to stylize them. So if you're working on portraits, you can reverse engineer this, you can chunk it, you want to break down your long-term goal, and your long-term goal could be this kind of style-ish of these different artists that you've sort of culled and put together photos of without copying. That could be your major influence, your subject matter influence, maybe the medium influence. And then you learn how to draw eyes, nose, lips, mouth in different forms, eyes that are inclusive, eyes of all shapes, sizes, colors from all around the world, ears, hair, the jawbone, the cheekbones, the eyebrow ridge, all these different things that denote different cultures, ethnicities. You chunk it into little pieces so it's not overwhelming. When it becomes overwhelming, it's too much to keep practicing and keep going. And the whole thing behind this is you have to keep practicing to get better. So break it down into pieces. If you're doing original characters, legs, thighs, feet, ankles, hips, waist, all the way up where the bones are, where the muscles are, where the ligaments are, where all these different things are that can help you break all of that down. This is the wrong color. He's brown. Oh, I love him anyway. I love him orange. Anyway, so I watercolored birds for a month. I don't know. I loved it. It was fun. I'd do it again. What you want to do is you want to make sure this is all monochromatic colored pencil. When you're starting out, you want to learn how things work. So if you're into birds, it would be eyes, it would be beaks, it would be feet, it would be their legs, it would be their feathers, the top coat, sort of the under feathers, the downy feathers, the ones that are waterproof, the ones that keep them warm, all the bits and pieces. And then when you go to stylize the portion you want to stylize, I have a lot of birds in here apparently. This is a cassowary eyeball, and think their eyes are just the weirdest dang thing, so became a portrait. Eyes. Practice. You have to practice. If you are into drawing homes, sort of urban sketching, houses, the street, like architecture, things like that, you have some options. You can either walk around where you live and start drawing your neighbors' homes. Maybe some of them will pay you for a copy of it. Maybe they won't. But you can go online. You can do virtual tours of other cities. Photography. So I wouldn't say look up how they do faces and then copy their faces. I would say take a picture of yourself and start drawing yourself. Draw yourself making silly faces. This is one of my favorites. Okay. Yeah, this one took hours and hours and hours for how the size it is. Isn't that funny? Again, owls. Always incorporate an owl. Just know that starting with your own face, you can see where your eyebrows are when you make facial expressions and keep going and going and going and going. And from there you can decide, ooh, you know what I really like to do? I really like to outline the eyes with whiter ink. I like to make them a little bit bigger and a little bit too close together. I know eyes are supposed to be one eye width apart, but I'm putting them closer. I'm making them longer. I'm gonna make them wider. I'm gonna shrink the nose. You have to know how the nose works before you're like, yeah, let's shrink it and or make it non-existent. Some artists aren't into noses. Here's, this is endangered animals. I got one bird in there. I got a plover in there. Colored pencil, watercolor, ink. So this is definitely mixed media for the Strathmore 500. The other things you can do, you need a wealth of illustrations to start being able to pull this apart. This was all dinosaurs, so I only have a couple flying dinosaurs for this one that are birds. Know your preferences. I don't particularly care to create with yellow. There's not a ton of yellow in my art. That plays into my style. So start knowing what you prefer, what you don't prefer. You want to be curious and you want to explore. So you want to try all the mediums. I can tell you right now, I think you can see these are ibis, that I have never in my life tried oil painting. I never have done it. Would I like to try it? Sure. Am I going to go out and buy all the supplies so I can try it once? Absolutely not. If a situation, appears in front of me where I can try to oil paint at some point, then I will try it. However, I may not be interested. That may never happen in my lifetime, and I'm perfectly okay with that because I'm in love with ink and I am in love with watercolor and I love mixing them together and I love colored pencil. I don't even know. Can you see that goose right there? Okay. This is heavy, heavy mixed media, watercolor, ink. There's so many things going on with this. This was an art journal I created with vellum and stickers and all kinds of stuff. So exploring within the mediums, can you see? Oh, there you go. You can see the birds in flight. Exploring within the mediums and putting the mediums together and layering them can then become an art style. Boy, these are so far out of order. This is Protest Art April from 22. So this is the Ukraine flag with their national bird. This is acrylic. This is ink. This is Electrum A4. This is colored pencil and ink. Again, this was Protest Art April. So this was done in colored pencil. I don't even know. I didn't even think there were birds in here. So this was from October of 22, and there were 2 birds that I managed to sneak in this Drawloween Halloween challenge. And the first one is the raven, or the crow with the tiger. So the theme was witch. Which witch is the witch? Which one is the familiar? And then here's a 2, which is a bird that blends in with a stump. And again, this is all indigo watercolor. In October, that is my style. I watercolor, I indigo. It's sort of a thing I've been doing for a couple years now. So what can help you with your style is what you want to say, what you want to talk about. So if there is something that is important to you, that is special to you, I did Decembered again. I did watercolor. Here it is in ink. This is my latest sketchbook tour up on that playlist of, this is just Pilot with Posca and Uniball Signo and Derwent chalk. I just kept doing birds. I just kept on with it. I don't know, I can't move past it. So, sort of problem solving. How do you create what you want to create with the size you have, with the time you have, also helps create your style. I have only 2 to 3 hours a night to work on something. That is now my style. I can't really improve upon what I'm drawing because I don't have any more time to dedicate to one single illustration. If I start doing one illustration every 2 days, my style is going to evolve. It's going to get more detailed. It's going to be more precise. That plays into it. What do you want your art to say? What do you want the tone to be? Who are you catering to? If you decide you want to be a children's book illustrator, then you want to make sure that you're drawing things that are safe for children to look at, that children might enjoy looking at. My kids are a little older. They're 11 and 14. They enjoy all my subject matter. They're just super supportive. I'm their mom. But if I want to make sure I'm creating something that kids will like, I could try and find friends with kids, neighbors with kids, go to a ball game. What you want to do is make sure that you're not doing it in a way that could be misunderstood by parents. So if you want to read to children and you want to maybe read a book that you've sort of created as a proof that you later want to submit, but you want to make sure that children enjoy it, you'll have to get vetted by schools. You'll have to be fingerprinted and make sure you're up on your shots and then give them records to be able to go onto a school campus. I'm in the United States. That is what I have done when I have helped out at schools. Maybe the library has a program where you can read to children. I know a lot of children's librarians do the reading to kids. But there are ways that you can contact. You can do a YouTube channel where you go through and maybe show some of your books, maybe show parts of it. See if, your audience, your subscribers would be willing to show that to their kids. See what their kids think and then get the feedback. Understanding your audience and what you want to say can be really, really helpful to your style. My style is completely things I love. That is my style. I love animals. I love faces. That's what it's evolved into. Those two main subject matters. That one sketchbook, you could see I combined the both, but that's what it is. So, how do you make it stylized? Know your preferences, have the time, figure out your voice, your passion, what you like to create. Your life experiences will come out through your drawing, what you prefer to see. I really prefer to see my birds look more realistic than hyper stylized. Like I love the Angry Birds franchise, the big round birds, but I like them a little bit more stylized when I'm drawing. I don't like drawing cartoon birds. I don't draw anything cartoon. This is what I've been doing as of 2023 with a micron. This is what I've been doing. So it hasn't really changed much because the amount of time I have to dedicate towards drawing hasn't changed. So my style isn't, I wouldn't say it's evolving slowly, but it's not at such a huge pace that it's super noticeable between all the years. Like I've added some pen and ink. It just hasn't. So figure out your preferences, figure out your themes. This all comes through practice. And you need to learn some of the illustration rules. So sometimes shadow and highlight help. I don't know if you can even see this. These are just like little hatch marks. I just hatch marked this whole owl. There wasn't anything deep to it. Figure out proportion and form and shape. This is a raptor. Again, this is just a micron 03. How you want to fill the page, what angle you want them looking at. Here is a flamingo. Again, these are about 2 hours maybe. This one's at probably an hour and a half. Make a plan and set your goals and piece them apart. This was, let me make sure that's the last one here. This one was from yesterday, so I have just little bird silhouettes in an intertwined textured tree. This is what I've been working on. This is how I know to create a style. You have to be practicing. You have to constantly be creating. You have to dedicate the time to it. Find your voice, find your passion, find what you like, find your feelings, put it all onto the page. Even if you have to write out notes in the beginning with what you're drawing, do that. Date your art. Put notes. Put what you like. I really like this beak. I really like these eyeballs. I think I could have filled the page better. What does this look like? It's filling the page correctly, or does it look like it's sort of directing your eye off the page. What is the strengths and what is the weaknesses of your art as you're doing it? Make the journal notes that'll help you when you refer back. Date your art. Date your sketchbooks. I have everything uploaded on Instagram every single day I create it, so I can refer back, and I do in my own time. If you only work on one side of the page, you can make notes on the other side. Figure out what would help you with your note section and be like, okay, I feel like this is really good. However, the bird is only a third of the page. 1, 2, 3. How could I have done this so the bird filled a larger portion of the page? Should I have done it vertical when all the other ones are horizontal to make him bigger? Figure out some of these questions and solutions and problems. Like, I like the shading here. I think it definitely shows that it's top down with the sunlight. That helps with the realism portion. I like the eyeball. Maybe the beak isn't as pronounced as it should be. This all helps. So make a plan. You can go on Pinterest and make sure you pull apart the art you like to look at and the art you want to create. That could be a Venn diagram with a lot of overlap. They could be the exact same thing, or they could be like me. They could be two completely different things. I love looking at a landscape. I don't do landscapes. I tried it, didn't care for it, so I dropped it. Figuring out how to incorporate things together. Positioning, placement. Know the rules of design. So repetition, form, line, space, light. I will link articles about that. I'll link articles about a bunch of different things. Pull references from royalty-free websites. Make sure the photos aren't copyrighted that you are borrowing from. That can be a huge problem later. So royalty-free photographs. Learn how to do it realistically before you go, yeah, I'm gonna need all the feathers to be 1 inch and all the legs to be like 8 or 9 inches. I want this bird to be made of legs and have the itty bittiest wings and then all beak. Before you learn to stylize it, learn how the leg bends of the bird, how the feet go, and the wings. It can be very, very helpful, very crucial. And then when you go to apply to something, when you go to do jobs or do creations or try and get followers or something like that, having a cohesive niched style gives people consistency of things that they can rely upon. So if they can always rely that your art is in some way gonna have tons and tons of birds, that's something they can count on. Now, I don't live where these birds are. This is a bird from Africa. He's a shoebill. So I have to rely upon photographs. And I look at as many photographs as I can and try and figure out a whole 360 situation to understand the bird. I want to understand the bird. Make sure when you're looking, I said it in my tour of this, make sure when you are looking at references that things haven't been tweaked and photoshopped. This bird has red eyes. A lot of people don't like red-eyed birds, so when you look for references of this bird, it may not have red eyes. This one also, a lot of them had like light blue eyes when I was looking at the references, and I'm not sure why these things are being tweaked, except that a stylistic choice of the photographer. So be really, really careful. Look up everything to make sure that your references for what you're working on are accurate. So you understand the accuracy of it before you go and stylize it and change it. So then later, if you decide, I want to make this abstract and I just want weird lines and sort of square eyes off in here with all these colors, you can then do that. Think of some of the most famous painters and artists of our time. Artists went through stylizations. You know, they had a blue period, they had a pink period, they did realism, now they moved to abstraction. If you look through the history of some of your favorite artists, they too had stylistic changes as they went. But the important thing was they just kept going. They kept creating, they kept going. Maybe what they wanted to say slowly started to change as you age, as you get older. Certain things become more important, certain things become less important. That becomes prevalent in some art depending on what you're creating. Things like protest art can be one of those where it becomes very evident of the message you want to convey and send. So be patient, practice, don't steal anything. Take ideas as influence, as end goals, and break it apart into tiny chunks so you can do that. Observe your theme. Look back through all your sketchbooks, all the dates, and go, yep, okay, this makes sense. I totally see that this has changed or this has gotten better. I think my beaks for flamingos have gotten way better. I think if I went to paint them again, the beak would be way better. I don't know if I would have so much spot blue. There's a little bit of teal here, highlight. I get that I was trying to experiment with spot color, and I appreciate that about this watercolor, but I think this has improved. So keep working. If you are fortunate enough that you can take a sketchbook with you, if you are going tons of places and maybe you're a passenger and you don't get car sick, or maybe you prefer to draw outside and your weather permits, a lot of this is a privilege. I totally understand having money and access to all this paper, all these supplies. Do what you can with what you have. If everything you draw is pencil only, just on regular paper, that becomes part of your style. And later, as a gift, as whatever, you can then start to incorporate markers or colored pencils or, you know, different things into your art that you can combine. My husband only draws with pencil. Pencil is his favorite medium. He doesn't care for anything with color. So start where you're at. Start with what you have. You don't have to rush out. You don't have to buy all these things. You don't have to do all these things. Sit with yourself and explore the things that are free. Explore the things that you have. I have seen the most beautiful illustrations done with one single Bic pen, which is a very cheap budget pen. It's the time. It's the time you dedicate to it, and you will see the things you can't stop thinking about. If you spend all day thinking about wanting to draw a stork or a parrot, this is from the St. Vincent and Grenadines parrot, then that is what you should draw and create that day. Don't then try and force yourself, you know, to draw perspective and your desk and your computer or a still life. If you're not into a vase of flowers and lemons, then that isn't what you should be drawing. If you're into arms and elbows, then get onto arms and elbows. Take pictures of yours and start practicing. Make sure they're going the correct direction, unless you don't want them to later and that becomes your style. So I hope this video helps. I hope you know, you can follow and find like-minded individuals creating some of the same things that you want to create. You can ask them questions, you can message them, you can message me. If you want to tag me in something, tag me in something. If you want to message me and be like, hey, could you look at my art real quick and tell me what 3 adjectives come to mind? I would love to do that. Sounds like tons of fun for me. I respond at weird hours. I am a night owl. We know I love to draw them. That is where I'm at in life. So yes, I hope this helps. Next week, I have a massive tutorial. It is going to be beginning watercolor. I'm going to start at the very beginning because I don't know where everyone's at when they find my channel. So it's going to be a lot of review for many of you that are watching this video. And I hope that you bear with me, as there will be an intermediate watercolor tutorial I will be doing later on in the year. And I will explain in next week's video why that isn't popping up right away. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this gave you ideas. I hope this helps. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.